Good morning again. I don't know why I decided that I wanted to do another one of these. I had some more thoughts and ideas this morning, and so here I am. Uh, it's kind of interesting the responses I've been getting from these videos. The first one I did, the first BRICS video I did, was I got like 1,600 views on it so far. So I'm quite surprised it's gotten some attention. Of course, since I just uploaded the second part yesterday, it hasn't had a chance to really do much yet. But I'm hoping that people will watch it and kind of understand what I'm trying to explain. This morning, I'm going to talk about the American dollar and why I think it's been being phased out for the last 23 years. And I'm going to go into the thoughts and feelings I've had about that. Back in 2000, it's interesting when I remember I had a bank account, and one of the things that they gave me when I got my bank account was a debit card. And I was like, oh, okay. It's sort of like, I know credit cards have been a big thing for a long time. I'm not sure when they were established. I can look that up, I suppose. But, it's kind of like instead of having checks, they were like, you could use a debit card as your means of payment. And I was like, well, that seems rather like a good idea. It's convenient. I don't have to write out a check. And since I was doing a lot of stuff on eBay at the time, I was using my card for getting payments and from eBay, and it was, like I said, it was convenient. So I'm going to ask my audience, look in your wallet right now, and I'll bet you almost 99% of you have very little paper money, but most of you are probably going to have maybe two, three, four pieces of plastic in there. And on every one of those pieces of plastic, I'm going to bet that there's a chip on that little card, computer chip. Now, that's a kind of a new addition, and I'm going to go into that a little bit more. I'm The thing is, it's like we have been moving away from paper money for a long time. Now, if you do have a card, you'll notice on the back it usually has an 800 number that if you have a problem with your card, they want you to call that 800 number. And I'm going to bet dimes to donuts again that if you call that 800 number, it's not going to be your bank. Um, it turns out that most of the electronic banking that is being done is going through a separate banking facility than the one that you're dealing with. So, what does that mean? Well, they're still using your money from your bank account because when you use your debit card or your credit card, the that money shows up on your bank account most of the time. Well, the debit card more than the credit, because the credit is a different thing. That probably goes directly through that secondary banking system. So every time I do something with my debit card, it would show up on my regular bank account. But whenever I wanted to find out about something, like if I had a fraud thing or if somebody cheated, didn't send me what I ordered on eBay, or there was a problem, I always had to call up that second number to talk to the people who owned the debit card. My bank sometimes handled it for me, but they still were dealing. I'm going to say that they're still dealing with that secondary banking system. So I'm like, that's interesting. So basically, whatever money I had in my bank account, is being dealt with, but is being dealt with by a secondary uh, management company. So who is that secondary management company? Um, I'm going to guess the government, but that's my thought. It's interesting. I'm going to say something that's going to be interesting. If you're going to have your money in a bank account these days, I would say make sure it's covered by the federal government. Most of them are now. But considering that, like I said, there were three banks that went down the tubes last month or last week. I'm not sure. I know it was recent. I'm curious to see how many more are going to go down the tubes. You may not hear about it on the news. You may have to look through secondary sources to see what's going to happen. I keep hearing that a lot more banks are going to go down the river as this is the other thing I found it interesting that somebody said, well, China and Russia don't have a big GDP, and they're not going to be able to affect American money. And I pointed out something that you have to remember: OPEC nations, because they supply the oil for almost every country in the world, basically they control whose money is going to be the king in the world. And right now, it's still American money, but if the Russians and the Chinese have worked out a deal with the OPEC nations, then that can change very quickly. We're going to see, like I said, they've already worked out a deal where now oil is going to be purchased with Chinese money. And once they phase out American money, I'm going to tell you something. American money is going to become worthless. And because of the fact that we've been phasing out American money for 23 years, it's interesting that, like I said, most of the people are dealing with plastic now. So American money has been being phased out for a long time. Chinese are going to be trying to get rid of that $3 trillion they have American money in a bank over there. It's funny that they send our money out on pallets to different countries. And if American money becomes worthless, then all that money that we've sent out to different countries on pallets is also going to be worthless. Maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody was thinking ahead and said, well, we're going to switch over to electronic money. How does electronic money work? Well, you take your card to the store, you push it into that telephone thing there or whatever the chip reader is, and basically you buy what you're going to buy, and it removes the money from your account, quote unquote. You you really don't need paper money. Paper money is sort of like a placeholder. They use it to kind of keep track of where things are going. But the thing is, you really don't need that anymore because we've got computers that do most of the tracking of where money moves to and how it moves. And that's how the government catches you, because as soon as you try to move any amount of money, Uncle Sam is there saying, this guy is moving big bucks from here to there. Where did he get it and why? So it's kind of interesting. I think electronic money is becoming the big deal, and maybe somebody in our government was smart enough to figure out that American money was going to end up being a problem at some point. Of course, the China-Russia thing is rather new. But like I said, the BRICS thing has been out there for a while. They've been talking about moving away from American money ever since America started becoming a bully, so to speak. When they were upset when Trump decided to pull out of the environmental thing over in Paris, because I think he realized that that's just a way to take money from the American people. This is the thing. Our government keeps taking money from the American people to pay their salaries, which, as I've discussed before, they never were supposed to get a salary. They've been stealing from us for over 100 years now, and nobody stops them. It's kind of one of those things that, they voted themselves a salary and being paid by the American taxpayer. And when they saw they could get away with it, they just keep raising their salaries. They were supposed to stay in line with what the American people were earning. Now, if they're getting $144,000 a year, I don't think that's in line with the American people, because if memory serves, the average American these days earns around 40,000. I know I'm not getting that much, and most of the people I've talked to are sort of like, we're not getting that much. So why does our government have free paid vacations, free medical, and $144,000 a year salaries, while the people basically keeps getting taxed and ripped off and paying for their ice cream and mansions and swimming pools and private jets and all the other lovely stuff that they get? But that's going away from the BRICS thing. Okay, so here we go. Like I said on my last video, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see them cranking up the printing presses over there in China, since they decided the Chinese money is going to be the new world currency. And as they crank up the presses and start pushing out the money, they're going to start selling off American money that they have in wherever, in the banks, or wherever they've been holding it. And what's going to happen is, as they push that money out and exchange it, it's going to start devaluating, because what's going to happen is people are going to start realizing that American money is not worth anything. And as that occurs, the dollar is going to devaluate rapidly. So if you have a lot of American dollars sitting somewhere, you might want to dump them very quickly. Or actually, your best bet is put them in a bank, because I think what's going to happen is, like I said, any money that's in a bank is going to be converted to electronic money. And because of the fact that we're still going to have to use some type of rate of exchange in America, it's possible the plastic money is still going to be good. So that's my thought on that. But that is a beginning of another issue. Now, if I'm a Christian, I do believe in Jesus Christ and the Bible. And if most of you are familiar with Revelations, you're aware of the prediction that at some point the Antichrist is going to require everyone to have a chip in their hand or in their forehead to be able to buy or sell. Interesting enough, when you use that little plastic card, it's kind of like that chip in your hand, only it's not in your hand. It's, you can still put it in your wallet, or you can cut it up and throw it away or not use it. The thing is, they're miniaturizing these chips more and more. They're making them smaller. They're getting them more efficient and more, as they move on with this technology, it's coming closer to the fact that, they're going to come up to you and say, well, gee, somebody can steal that card, or somebody can duplicate the card, or somebody can blah, blah, blah with the card. Why don't we make it easy for you? And we can insert this thing into your hand, or, some people don't have hands, we put it in your forehead. And basically the chip readers they have nowadays are, they've got that little wand thing, they can just wave that wand thing at your hand or at your forehead and basically tell you what you have in your bank account. Like I said, I have a feeling that banks are going to a lot of banks are going to go down. There's just no way that, once the American dollar becomes a non-issue anymore, once it becomes like Venezuela, where paper money was just thrown out in the streets, or, use the toilet paper. I mean, if you need toilet paper and you can't afford to buy some, dollars work well, or if you need to heat up your food and you can't use your stove or whatever, um, they burn quite well from what I gather. So it does have a purpose. It just might not be the one that you're used to using it for. So there you go. I'm kind of like, I'm thinking, well, it's kind of interesting that the Bible predicted that this was the way the world was going to end up. Who the Antichrist is? Well, that's a good question. I mean, we've heard theories about Trump, and we've heard theories about Putin, and we've heard theories about all sorts of different world leaders out there. It's possible we have not met him yet, or her, whoever it may be. It's just a matter of we're moving in a direction where things are beginning to shift, and that world power is one of the big shifts we're seeing in the world right now. Um, your guess is as good as mine. I'm kind of like I said, I'm sitting in here in the wings watching everything coming down and praying a lot because it's not looking good. I don't know. They keep Russia keeps saying they've been saying there's a lot of incidents happening right now with the Russians and the Americans, and they're threatening with nuclear war. I don't, that's kind of an iffy thing, though. The mutual assured destruction, I think is still kind of a deterrent to some extent, but who knows, if someone figures out how they can do it without getting themselves destructed at the same time, anything is possible. You know, if they want to, they could dump something on Yellowstone Park and set off the volcano there, and that'll take care of everything all by itself. We do have a super volcano here in America, and that. Well, anyway, I'm wandering off into different subjects here. So there's my thoughts about BRICS again. Like I said, it's kind of interesting. They cut out like all the other extraneous countries and decided that only China and Russia are doing this right now. Who knows? They may still drag in those other countries. They still have that possibility. Once they take control of the oil in the the Arabian countries there, the other countries will probably fall into place. I mean, that's kind of a given because they're going to have no choice in the matter. Once the Arabians start collecting Chinese money in payment for oil, and they realize, and other countries realize that they're only going to take Chinese money, then they're going to have to start exchanging whatever money they're using in all the other countries for Chinese money. It's like American money right now, since only American money was being accepted at one point. Most countries were buying American money like crazy because that's the only rate of exchange they had. Do you understand now why I keep saying that if this happens, American money is going to become toilet paper? Whatever money is being accepted by these countries as the world currency is going to end up being the strongest money. Okay, well, that's my story for this morning. I don't know. This may be the end of the series. We'll have to wait and see how uh, everything develops in the world. If there's more, I will definitely come up with a part 4, and we'll talk about it some more. I'm waiting to see how this whole thing shakes out. Like I said, I think the stock market in America has been crashing for a long time now. We like I said, we aren't hearing a lot about it. You really have to hunt around for the news on that. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to see the stock market in America do a 1920 depression thing first, and we're moving that way too. We just aren't feeling it yet. We have to. This is all coming together slowly. It's like it's funny. It's like that train in the distance. You're standing on the tracks thinking you're safe. Oh, this ain't going to affect me, or this ain't going to bother me. But if that train is moving 120 miles an hour and you're still standing on the tracks when it gets to you, you're going to feel it because it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. So please prepare yourselves. It's not that there are things you can do to protect yourself from what's going to happen. Buy food, stock up your shelves because you're going to need it. Like I said, if gas goes up the way it should go up, we're not going to be able to afford it. It's going, you think $5, $6, $7 is expensive. I'm going to predict that unless we decide to open up our oil in America again, like we did under President Trump, we could see prices that are going to be exorbitant. You're going to have to mortgage your children, your house, and a couple of sell a couple of kidneys. I don't know. So pretty prepared. Get some food. Stock it up in your shelves. Fill up your gas tanks so at least you have something to be able to get around for a short amount of time. Buy some toilet paper, but don't empty the shelves. Leave some for your neighbors. I still like the one guy who bought toilet paper when it was disappearing, and he's still working on the load he has. I mean, I think he's got enough toilet paper till God calls him home. So, all right. Thanks so much for listening. And whatever thoughts you have, share them. If you've seen something I haven't seen, please let me know. I'm always interested in what's going on in the world. Like I said, I'm still betting that it may just be Russia and China now, but I'm betting those other countries are going to be climbing on board real quick. And once that happens, you're going to start seeing more of it in the news. I'm going to bet on that because once everybody else climbs on the train, they're not going to be able to hide it anymore. So have a good one. Good morning, and talk to you soon. And like I said, I don't know. This may be my last one on BRICS, but who knows? Some more revelations may come about.